So for this recording, we are going to see the connection between the MySQL and the PHP page. Okay. We have the PHP form which has been saved as PHP. Now this connectivity will not work if you have the standard form, but in HTML page. It should be the PHP page. Okay. And with this PHP, we have to connect our form IDs and form fields with the particular column in the databases. Okay. That is why you shouldn't give the generic names to your text field IDs as well as to your column IDs. Because otherwise, when Dreamweaver try to connect them, you will understand like form 1 and form 2, ID 1 and so on. So as long as we have this incorrect, now we have tested our database earlier and we can see the dummy records is in place. We have tested our form with the validation, so that is in place. The next part is working in Dreamweaver. So I'm just going to maximize Dreamweaver here. And we are in the PHP page. In the panels view, just check here, we have inserts panel, styles panel, files panel. In between, there's a panel for databases, bindings, and server behavior. Okay. In case if your panels are not displayed there, you can go to the window menu and you can open the databases panel from there. In our case, it's there. So right now, if I just close this panel, which is already here, databases, binding, server behavior. When you click one of them, it will have these three together because they work together with each other in terms of running queries and so on. So first things first, when you want to do the connectivity in terms of either you insert or either you retrieve values or you search, first thing is to form the connection. Okay, to create the connection between the database and the PHP page, we use the databases panel, and under the databases panel we use the plus symbol to create new connection. Okay, but before even we do that, sometimes if you click on it, it will not show you the connectivity clearly. The option might be grayed out. The reason behind that, before we start using connection or creating connection, Dreamweaver wants to know whether the dynamic data of your site has been set up. Means your site, all those three options, which is the name of your site, which is the local information, the document types, which is server types and so on, and the testing server. All these three configurations we do normally when we define the website. In this example, our website is already defined. That's why you can see I have this tick mark on first three options. Now I'm allowed to go and start clicking on the plus sign to build the fourth point, which is the connection. In case if it is not working, if you don't see these ticks here, means your site is not defined correctly. Dreamweaver wants you to work with the correct site definition. Okay, just for the sake of the localhost is configured correctly with the local settings of Dreamweaver. So once that is done, we simply come back here. On all these site settings, you can see, you can simply click on site menu and we can see our local information is in correct place, remote is in correct place, testing server is in correct place. It will take from here HTML documentation types, yeah, which is a PHP page. So once we do that, we click on this plus symbol and it simply pops you with MySQL Connection Menu. Okay, there's nothing else in it except this. So first we click on it and Dreamweaver gives you a very simple panel where you actually ask to create a couple of values. Now first thing is, it will ask you the connection name. Connection name can be anything. It's as good as creating a variable. In the programming languages, we give some variable names, which we normally use to code in future. So whatever you type connection name, Dreamweaver will save it in PHP as a variable type, and it will use it in future to do the connectivities. So ideally, don't give any spacing between your connection name. You can just write anything. For example, eShop connection. Okay, all one word. You can give anything you like. Okay, it is going to use as a variable, so it doesn't matter. So that's my name of the connection. SQL server name. Because we are working in local environment, the server name should be always localhost. Okay, it has to be always localhost. Username, we don't have any username and passwords for our servers, but normally username we should use root. Okay, that is also default settings for your local computers. If you're using web servers, we can use the actual details, which once you finish your registration of the website, the hosting company will give you all this. 1&1 or 1.com or Streamline, we have seen a lot of web hosting companies. The moment you purchase your hosting product, they will give you the database details. They will give you their server name, they will give you a username, they will give you a password, and they will give you the database as well. Okay, so these things will come to you ready-made once you do the real-life connectivities. So the local connectivity using MySQL, connection name is our, localhost is we have to type. So localhost and root, these values should go compulsorily as it is. Otherwise, connection won't happen. Password, when we configured XAMPP, it normally asks you passwords and all, but we haven't done any passwords. So by default, don't type anything. Okay, there's no passwords for databases. And finally, the next thing is now which database we want to connect from the whole root. So simply click on select, and here it shows the list of all the databases you have in your MySQL localhost. So if you can see here, when you go to the home, which is the root, under the root, as many databases you have here on the left hand side, in the Dreamweaver's connection, you actually see them here. Straightforward. You have to select your database which you want to actually connect. So we're going to simply select 1065 eShop as our database. So these are the 4 important things which Dreamweaver will store in its own PHP script. So once we say OK, or before we say OK, we can actually simply click to test. Okay, just to test whether it is the values are correct. So I'm simply going to test my connection. You have not specified a password. Fair enough, just say OK. Test again. And it prompts you with connection was made successfully. Okay, so our connection is fine. Everything is working in order. Say OK here. Let's say OK there as well. So we've done the first 50% job. We have done the connectivity right now with our PHP page with MySQL database. Okay. Now in that database, we have a registration table. Okay. So the next part is once the page and database gets connected, in the second stage, you connect the form with the table. So the page with the database and the form with the actual table inside the database. So for that part, you can see your connection will be displayed in the database panel as well here. Sometimes in future, if connectivity doesn't work, simply just delete this and create a new connection. It doesn't take too long. Sometimes it doesn't work, the values get deleted, so you simply delete the connection. It will not harm your database at all. Okay, it is just a PHP script you can create again by creating a new database. So that's your new connection name, which is already here. As long as that connection is successfully done, the next part is we go to the server behavior tab. Now in server behaviors as well, Dreamweaver will double check whether those 3 settings are still there. As you can see in my configuration, all those three settings, it shows 1, 2, 3, all set correctly. Okay. Once that's done, we click on this plus menu, and from here we actually use ready-made queries. These are all ready-made queries. There is some query which is normally for insert record, update records, delete, user authentication, where some of you asked to create login ID and passwords for the websites. That's where we use this particular setting. But for this example, I'm going to use insert record, okay, because we want to insert first. So now you simply go into the query panel, server behaviors, insert record, and there you go. 90% thing Dreamweaver takes automatically. Dreamweaver takes that in the web page. We have only one form right now, so there's no problem for Dreamweaver to choose which form. It automatically takes the only form we have. It automatically selects the connection which we just created right now. It automatically picks registration table. Because the connection is done, Dreamweaver can browse through the database tables as well. Because we have single form, we have single table, it picks those values by default. If you have multiple forms and multiple tables, you can simply drop down these and select whichever things you want to do for connections. Now here, the next box says columns, in which it shows ID, fname, password, and emails. These are the names of 4 columns in the database, right? In our table. It says fname does not get a value, means right now Dreamweaver don't know this column fname in my database, which text field it should get connected. Okay, so all you have to do now is highlight these columns, and from the value select which text field you want to connect with each column. That's all. So the only thing we have to do now here is ID is a primary key, so we don't have to do anything. Fname, we simply select the value form.fullname. This is the ID of my text field. Okay, but you will see them in the list automatically because we have designed it accordingly. Password should be coming from the password field. Email should be coming from email. It takes everything automatic now. After inserting, go to browse. One more time, you can use that confirm page now. Okay, you select whichever you saved it as. Yeah. Pretty straightforward. One was for connection, this window was for insert record, and this panel is actually coming from the server behavior tab. The connection panel was coming from databases tab. As long as you know where these panels are coming from, rest is pretty straightforward. Okay. So with these values, if I simply say okay, Dreamweaver remembers the insert record query under the server behavior. It remembers the connection under the databases panel. That's your form. You can see here a small icon appears which actually holds the PHP scripts for your pages. Let me save this file. Let's test it. And here I'm going to type something. Let's take Kathleen. Password is Rambo123. Email is cat@elad.org. And then submit. It says content registration form. It's fair enough. Let's go back to the localhost database. That's my localhost screen. That's my eShop. That's my registration table. That's my browse. Do you see that? The new entry. Now this entry just came from the browser form. It all happened because of that connections and all that insert record query. Straightforward. In your projects, we expect you to have at least one form which can take some values from the users. 3-4 fields is more than enough. Name, surname, number, email, a message. So any feedback form or a contact form you can create, which is a requirement for your level 3. So I hope you can build this now. Okay. Let's save this recording.